Time to go behind Blue Eyes, Stephen Roach. Let's start with West Tigers. Luke Brooks, we talked about him last week. He's continuing to mix his form, and now he's missed a spot in the starting side after missing 9 tackles.
Well, I suppose Coach Maguire made a rod for his own back when he dropped Benji Marshall for missing all those tackles. 9 tackles missed by Lukey Brooks and left out of the side. So it's funny, but they bring Benji back in, drop Brooksy for the same reason. So it'll be interesting to see how they go this week.
Yeah, well, what do you think of them at the moment, the Tigers?
Hot and cold. Look, I think what he's trying to do is change the way that the Tigers play the game. Get a little bit more mongrel in them. Look, it's all right to try and change it, but you've got to have the personnel and those sort of people to be able to do it. I only think back to when they played the Panthers and tried to outmuscle the Panthers and just didn't work. So, yeah, it's going to take a while. Personnel-wise, too, he was left with a bit of a bunny when Ivan Cleary left. So he's trying to change everything, but not being able to do the things that he wants to do with the team as far as bringing personnel in. So he's dancing with the girl he's taking to the ball at the moment. Things will change, trying to change the way that they think and the way that they play the game. So it's going to take a while. Once he gets a bit of money in behind him, he'll be able to go out and buy the players he wants.
He'll get his Cinderella. All right. What about Boyd Cordner? He's as tough as teak. And look, Trent Robinson gave him some time off, basically because, in his words, he treats his body with disdain.
Would be filthy knowing a bloke like Boyd Cordner, the New South Wales captain, also Captain Australia of late. What a tough competitor. Mate, I love him. I just love, you know exactly what you're going to get from that bloke. And, you know, not a big talker as the captain, but a leader. You know, he just goes out there week in and week out, always plays that hard line, knocks himself out a little bit, but I don't think it worries him, mate. I think Boyd Cordner is a sensational leader of men. And he'd be filthy that they leave him out. They've done it a couple of times. Well, they did at the start of the season. And they were off to a poor start without their fearless leader. So, you know, Boyd, irrespective of what you'd say to him, I think Boyd Cordner is the type of player that'll play the way he wants to play every week.
Yeah, so he'll be pretty happy to be back this week, that's for sure. Do you reckon he's the toughest of the modern era, this recent era that we're looking at? Or he'd have to be in the top few, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Timmy, is it toughness or is it madness?
Well, maybe a combination of both.
Maybe. Look, every good sportsman or real good sportsman I've ever met in any sport, they're always a little bit left to the edge. And Boyd's certainly like that, mate. He treats his body not very kindly. He's going to be doing it tough when he finishes, but what a career and what a player. He's up there with all of them, you know. Of all time, you'd have to have a look at the way that he plays and the speed of the collisions and all that sort of stuff now. He'd be up amongst anyone that's played the game.
Yeah, thankfully now we have things in place in and around concussions, which is obviously way more helpful than some of the times in the past. Let's have a look at this Canberra Roosters game. Luke Keary and Jack White. And is it 5'8" against 5'8" for potential New South Wales Origin, or are we looking at the 5'8" playing alongside another guy that'll be in the centres maybe?
Yeah, no, I think I'll go with the latter, Timmy. I think Keary's done enough to be the New South Wales and Australian 5'8". He's an unbelievable player. The thing is, Tim, you know, he won that comp with South and then he's won a couple with the Roosters. He's actually a better player now when I watch him than I thought he was. Mate, he's a sensational player. And, you know, Freddie's all about picking the best 17 and all that sort of stuff. And Jack White cannot miss out on the New South Wales side. So I think you're right in what you said. I think Keary deserves to be the 5'8" now. If I'm sitting back and watching it and thinking about it and watching all the games, both of them deserve to be in the team. But I've got to say, Keary deserves to be the 5'8". He's a wonderful player. He's, as I said, mate, he's even better than what I thought he was.
Yeah, he's starting to sort of be a bit of a standout, or up in that standout for the generation in that number 6, isn't he? He's won 3 grand finals.
Yeah, unbelievable, mate. You know, blokes play all their lives. Moi. only get to a couple and never win them, but he's, mate, he deserves everything he gets. He's we talk about leaders and men and all that sort of stuff. Young Flanagan, pardon me, couldn't have a better mentor than that guy. Calm, just knows the game backwards, and just we'd be giving him some good tips rather than being noisy all the time and trying to tell him week in and week out 10 different things. I think he'd be the sort of bloke to be a great mentor for him.
What about Regan Campbell-Gillard? He's playing in a winning team. The mighty Parramattitude is in all its strength at the moment. They lead the competition. Has he come back successfully enough from those broken jaws now, Block, to really start to consider him back as a blue option?
Yeah, 100%, Timmy. If you look at it form, mate, him and his front row partner and Junior Paulo are probably the two best at the moment, in my opinion, that could play for New South Wales. I know Saifidi and those sort of guys, Clemmer, are good players and all that sort of stuff. But if you look purely on form, these guys have to be somewhere around. They're leading the competition, not by fluke. They're leading the competition because these two guys are leading the way. Campbell-Gillard, it's great to see him back, mate. I felt for him when he broke his jaw twice, and everyone was saying, "Oh, mate, he's not like he used to be." But mate, it's hard to come back from those sort of things, mate. Facial injuries, especially when you play in that position, of course you're always going to be worried. But I think Brad Arthur, in my opinion, I don't know this for a fact, but I think what he's done, because of the team that Parramatta have got, he's simplified Regan Campbell-Gillard's game. It hasn't given him too much to think about. Just go out there and run hard and go as hard as you can for as long as you can. And mate, no one in the game plays as hard as he does. Play one front row, always taking the ball forward, leg speed across the ground. And I'm just so happy for him that he's been able to get himself back. It's a huge effort after those injuries that he had.
They've got an impressive pack, don't they? Nathan Brown at the back, the two big boppers in the back row, running either side. They really are. They really are an option, aren't they? When you think of title holders for 2020, I know they haven't done it since 1986.
Yeah, the other thing too, Timmy, is mate, like I'd love to see what the Roosters have done over the couple of years, but mate, I want to see someone challenge them. And I think Penrith and Parramatta, neighbours and foes against each other when they play, are probably the two other sides that are the form sides on their day could probably upset the Roosters. So, mate, I'd like to see the competition spread around a little bit. Not that I wouldn't like to see the Roosters win again, but I would like to see someone really challenge them for the premiership. The poor old Canberra Raiders this week, the grand final replay, wow, they've got some injuries. It's going to be hard to see how, they'll be up for it and they'll go with the Roosters for 60 minutes. But at the end of the day, I don't think they've got the personnel through injury that they had last year in that grand final.
No, they've had their spade of bad luck, haven't they? It's going to be tough for them, but Ricky's in charge, so anything can happen. What about the Dragons? They really look like a different side. McInnes, he's almost custom-made for that lock position and brings Ben Hunt to hooker. It seemed to work so much better.
Yeah, you know what the big plus for him too was, Timmy, is both of those guys are 80-minute players. Ben Hunt went in there, 55 tackles last week. We saw in the State of Origin last year for Queensland how dominant he was in that dummy half position. I think he's there to stay. I know the $1 million player in Hunt doesn't want to play there. He wants to play halfback. But, mate, you do what's best for the side. Cameron McInnes, I just love his leg speed and the way he covers the ground and the way he gets off his line in defence, kick chase, all those little things that people probably don't really take that much notice of when they're watching the game. But your teammates appreciate that sort of stuff. Always first down on the kick chase, always off his line, putting pressure on. And he's a great defender and, mate, worked for 80 minutes. And both those guys, big advantage too with Hunt. They've got 2 or 3 kickers in their footy side now in the St George Illawarra side. Looking at their team last week against Manly, it was probably the best team they could put on the park. And, Hunt out of dummy half with his kicking game, his defence around the middle. So, they've got to do it again. They've got a good opportunity to do it again because on the weekend they're playing the Bulldogs.
What about Cameron McInnes as an Origin player? He's almost custom built, isn't he, Block? Because he plays at lock. He could play, obviously plays at hooker. You'd chuck him in the front row.
He'd play anywhere, mate. Have you seen him? He's got a head like a beaten favourite, hasn't he? So, he can play anywhere.
I can't talk.
Hey? No,
I can't talk.
mate, I can say it because I have got the same sort of melon, so I can say that. So mate, there'd be no worries putting him in an Origin. It's just where you fit him. We've got so many. Mate, so many. It's probably been it's probably been our Achilles heel for a long, long time that we've got so many people to pick from all the time, and whoever they pick now, and we've got a host. We talked about how many locks we got the other day, how many back rowers we got now how many hookers that are turned into back rowers that we could put in the side. So, mate, if he got his opportunity, he wouldn't let anyone down. And I think I'm right in saying that he won the Dragons Player of the Year last year. So, and, the coaches pick and all that sort of stuff. So I don't think the Dragons would swap him. And I think if he got his opportunity to play for New South Wales, he wouldn't let anyone down.
How do you think Alex Johnson's going to go fullback without Latrell being there? He has been in form out on the wing, hasn't he, Alex?
Yeah, I think, mate, every time there seems to be a little bit of slip up at South Sydney, over the years, Alex Johnson's been moved to fullback. Mate, there's no better replacement to go back for Latrell than Johnson. He's been I can't believe that the South Sydney side are letting him go. I mean, I reckon there'd be a lot of people with that opinion. It's been a great stalwart for him. Would have loved to have seen him play at one club, but playing at fullback, I don't think it'll phase him, mate. I don't think anything for his preparation will change. He's a real professional, and mate, he'll go back and do a job.
Alex Johnston has the opportunity to show a few potential clubs what he can do with moving to fullback too. It gives him a little bit more range to have an impact on the game. Yeah,
Timmy, there's no doubt about it, mate. The people, when you look at your roster, and I like teams that go and buy specific players for specific positions rather than just someone's on the market, let's buy him. He'd be well suited to go into a team that needs a fullback winger. That's their top priority to buy. So, look, I've got no problem that someone will pick him up and he'll play well for them.
All righty, let's start looking at a few of these contests, Block. We've already had a look at the Roosters Raiders. Just quickly there, no Josh Hodgson. And Nat Butcher, well, he's been doing pretty well without Victor Radley there. For the Raiders, is this a top 4 berth over these next 2 weeks? If they can't get a few wins, they won't get in that top 4?
Yeah, they're going to do it tough now. Timmy, they lost their best player, mate. Hodgson's there. He's their go-to, man. He's the bloke that starts everything for him. He's a wonderful player from dummy half. He's in the top 3 hookers in the game, Hodgson, and I don't reckon the Raiders would swap him for anyone. And just having a look at all their injuries with Gula and all those guys, Bateman still waiting to come back in. So I think there's about half a dozen blokes that played in the grand final last year that won't be there for the Canberra Raiders this week, and it's perfect, really cannon fodder for the Roosters the way that they're playing at the moment. I know they've got a couple of missing too, but not as bad as the poor old Raiders. But the great thing about Ricky, and he's always tested as a coach, he's a great motivator of men. So look, as I said a little bit earlier, I reckon they can go with the Roosters for a long period of time, about 60 minutes. But it's the way these Roosters finish off games and the way they go and looking to score points. I don't think it's a fair contest. I would have loved to have seen both sides at full strength, but unfortunately that doesn't happen at this time of year. And we've seen a lot of injuries in the game all over. And, it's going to be a tough one for Ricky to get the boys up.
How do you think the Tigers will go against Brisbane without Luke Brooks? And double-sided question. David Nofoaluma, is he right in the frame for New South Wales? Do you think in the form he's in?
I like David Nofoaluma. Has been a good for a long, long time. I think when he runs the ball back, a lot of people underestimate his strength. He's not the biggest bloke, but he's powerful. He always bounces out of tackles. Maybe a long bow to think that he's in contention for State of Origin. If we've got a few injuries, you wouldn't worry about throwing him in there. He's had a magnificent season so far. So but I don't really know if you could put him in the side now with all the blokes that are available.
What about this Dragons-Bulldogs game? We touched on it just a little while ago. They're only 2 points out of the 8 now, the Dragons.
And mate, they played the 2 grand finals 2 weeks in a row. They play the Roosters, and then the Canberra Raiders. So and then they come out. I was a little bit worried last week. Not critical. I said they'll getting beat 22 points to 0 at half, or just a bit after half time by the Canberra Raiders. And then they had this massive comeback. I was a little bit worried, is the comeback because the team put the cue on the rack the opposition after leading 22-0, or is it a good comeback by them? As it turned out, it was a good comeback by them because they played so well against Manly, who were down on a couple of troops. There's no doubt about that, but you still got to go out there, 34 points to 4 with their best team on the field. They get to do it again this week, and they'd be licking their lips playing against the Bulldogs after what's happened to them during the week. So it could be a couple in a row now for the Saints.
Yeah, and probably one of the issues for the Dragons was scoring points, wasn't it? But with Dufty at fullback in the kind of form he's in, and young Zach Lomax, there's some real attacking options there, aren't there? For getting tries scored.
Yeah, I like Lomax, mate. He's going to be a good player. They put him in a fullback earlier in the year, and then they put him back to the centres after one game. Powerful kid. He's only 20. Got great pace. I don't know if you saw the try on the weekend.
Yeah, I
where
did.
he flicked the ball out. He flicked the ball out the back, and I said that reminds me of Gene Miles or Gidley or those sort of guys. So he's got all the skills. 20 years of age. I think we're going to see him play for New South Wales in the coming years. I hope we're still around to see it.
Oh, we will be. We just got to keep up our star jumps, Blocker. And look, the other guy that used to throw those kinds of passes in our era was Mark Gasnier, and he wore the same jersey and in the same position. He had very good hands like that. It was a great pass, and I know that Brad Fittler's a huge fan. What do you want to see from the Bulldogs, Block? The team this week.
Oh, maybe I think I see when I look at their roster. I think I see what I want to see from them every week. They've got a fair bit of grit. I mean, the Broncos put them to the sword last week, and that was, that was a little bit uncharacteristic. They fight hard, but when you look at their list and the 17 players, mate, they're always going to do it tough until they can go out. Apparently, they've got a big purse now to go out and buy players. They've got to settle on a coach first, and then once they settle on the coach, go out into the market and try and find some players. They have a go week in and week out. There's no doubt about that. I like watching them dig in, but unfortunately, you've got to have the players. And I'll just mention that about Dean Pay a little bit earlier. Give Dean Pay, Parramatta or the Roosters and see how he goes. Mate, he'd go well. There's no doubt about that. You've got to have the players. So the Dogs, gritty, but just haven't got the personnel.
David Clemmer, well, we know how good he is. This is a really good game for everyone to have a look at him, isn't it? Because no Daniel Saifidi in this one for Newcastle.
He's the same sort of bloke that goes out week in and week out, David Clemmer. He's up there with the best props in the game. There's no doubting that. Mate, he's probably got a level where he tries to reach every week. And I think he's that type of bloke that, prepares himself well, goes out and takes on the opposition week in and week out. He's been doing it for a long, long time now. I think you'll find he's got a lot of test matches and also state of origin games under his belt. So a real pro. I love the work that he does. And, mate, you're picking a New South Wales side. He's in the 17 somewhere.
Okay, let's just have a quick look at Manly. When you're not winning, the fortune doesn't favour you either, does it? They've had a few issues with decisions that they haven't been happy with. They'll be really looking to try and get everything go their way this weekend.
Yeah, well, mate, take two of your best players out of any team, you're going to struggle, especially, two of the best players in their position in Tom Dvojevic and Fanua Blake. I'm sure that they'll be getting, time put into them by Desi, especially Fanua Blake, not to react to those sort of things. I was the same sort of player, mate. There was a lot of things that you said on the field on the spur of the moment that you probably didn't mean or you didn't mean to do or whatever, but it's not an excuse. He'll bide his time. In the top three front rowers in the competition, Fanua Blake. If you ask all the Manly blokes who they love playing with, it's Fanua Blake. So they've got to get over that hurdle of losing their two best players and try and get a win on the board. I was a little bit, in my own opinion, disappointed. I did that game last week for Fox, and I was a little bit disappointed the way that they got beat by the Saints at the end of the day. 34. Saints had scored 34 points against them. That's not Manly like. Now we generally, Des has the sides. We always see, that rock hard defence, and I reckon we'll see him back to that this week.
Can they really be a serious premiership contender with Turbo out for so long? He's just such a huge impact.
Yeah, just the winning rate goes down mate, it just goes down that much. And they've got to get over that mentally. But you got to play with the players that are on the field. Now, there's no doubt that Tommy's a great player and always bounces up all over the field and scores tries for them and all that sort of stuff. But the Manly side and all the players have got to get over that mentally. He's not going to be there for a while. So, mate, you've got to find something, and you got to find it pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Stephen, we've turned over a few rocks. We've gone behind Blue Eyes successfully, I think, my dear friend.
Well, let's hope so. You know what I was upset about? Please, I beg thee, or whoever makes the decisions out there, don't get rid of the scrum. I'll tell you what you do with it. You make it competitive again. Hello?
He wants the scrums back, the hooking back. That's Stephen Roach. That is Behind Blue Eyes. See you next week.
Throws the pass. He's got it back to you-know-who. Tedesco for the corner.